Hi, I'm EllaAradia and welcome to your Psychic Tarot Love Reading. This reading is for my Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces water signs. The timestamps are below, where we'll be taking a deeper dive into your person's hidden feelings for you. This is a love reading and it's for those of you who are already connected with someone, even if you are currently in no contact with your person. This will be a very specific message, so it may not resonate for all of you. If it feels right, then it's meant for you. Otherwise, you may want to check out the readings for your other placements, so Sun, Moon, Rising or Venus. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoyed this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Cancer, let's jump in. I feel like I just want to do one more shuffle here. It's always just a feeling for me when the deck is ready. Okay, now. All right, Cancer, let's jump in. So I always like to tune into the energies first, Cancer, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I like to always just see what the universe shows me. Feeling some energies of, feeling conflicted about something. I feel like there's someone from your past. I feel like there's somebody new that's, let's say, kind of orbiting you at the moment. And it's interesting because when I feel into this past connection, to me it feels like someone that kind of, comes and goes out of your life. There might have been a lot of stops and starts with this person. A lot of challenges is what I'm getting. Issues that were coming up that just never really got resolved. But at the same time, somebody that you do still have, a lot of love and a lot of feelings for. So in your overall energies, we have the Eight of Pentacles, which is all about putting the work in to something, to somebody, with a view to getting something back from that. Sometimes that can actually just be about you working on yourself and becoming the best version of yourself that you can be. Because for me, when I feel into this person in the past, there feels like there's been conflict, and often that comes because there is a question of needs, what each person is kind of needing out of a connection. And to me, it's this feeling of, on a deeper level, maybe knowing that this person isn't right for you, isn't healthy for you. It feels like they have a lot of growing to do. That's what I feel. And, it's a challenge because I do feel like this is someone who, maybe does still hold a piece of your heart. But on a deeper level, there is a bigger part of you, I feel, which is telling you it's time to kind of move on. Whatever this connection is, whether it was a long-term relationship or a situationship, let's say with someone, it feels like feelings do run deep. But just because you love someone doesn't mean you should be with that person. It doesn't mean they are the right person for you long term. Your person's view of you, we have the Emperor. Their feelings towards you, the King of Cups. Interesting. Their intentions, the Nine of Wands. This was the other thing I was feeling here. Is there somebody, that is making a reappearance right now? Because this does feel like a past person that is still on your mind. Let's just get your feelings towards this. Judgment, a moment of a life review, where, you are being asked to question things, to look at, I think, has this person really grown enough to be able to progress things in a healthy way moving forwards? You are being asked to look at this situation. You know, this may be somebody who, it feels to me like there's been some time apart. Like some of you may have been in, you know, a kind of on and off, no contact situation with this person. That's what I mean. It feels like a kind of a situationship. And a lot of challenges, a lot of complications, a lot of intensity as well, you know, very intense feelings with this person. Definitely a soulmate connection, but that doesn't have to necessarily mean that this is a life partner for you. Their feelings towards you, we have the King of Cups. And I do feel that they are seeing you as this is the Emperor, and it's all about, you know, stability, foundations. I do feel like they are seeing you as, you know, someone who there is a potential here to have a committed, stable relationship with. You know, this is about, you know, they're seeing you as someone that they can build those strong foundations with. I feel like this is also a part of their personality as well. You know, where sometimes, you know, this might be someone who is a bit held back, is what I'm getting. Maybe struggles a little bit to express their deeper feelings, because with their feelings towards you, this is the King of Cups, where, you know, that there is something very deep about this person, but at the same time, with their intentions towards you, is the Nine of Wands. And this is often a card about healing, but it can also be, for me, sometimes someone that's putting up a wall. And, you know, in this reading, that's what I'm feeling from the energy of this card. You know, someone who has, you know, got a wall up, and they're, you know, you can't really get past that. But it feels like there might be a bit of a process going on with this person where they are perhaps, you know, recognizing and understanding more fully, you know, the significance of this connection with you. But I do see the word caution. You know, if this person does come back forward to you, it is really to, you know, question this and make sure that, you know, there has been a genuine shift here, because this wall, this Nine of Wands, I feel like this is what you have always dealt with this person. You know, it's not that they don't feel, it's not that they don't, you know, have feelings that run very deep, because I feel like there's a lot of intensity there. And, you know, this may be someone who only finds that kind of safe when they're expressing that in a physical way with you. That's when they let themselves feel their deeper feelings. But at the rest of the time, I feel like it's someone that struggles to communicate and express feelings and have, you know, deal with issues when they come up. You know, this is someone who is kind of quite walled off, there's a barrier up. But there's also some sort of healing process that's going on here. In the challenge, we have the King of Wands. So this King of Wands might be somebody that is orbiting you right now, that may be coming towards you, might be pursuing you. Because I do feel two different energies. That's not going to resonate for all of you, but that will be for a certain group of you. Hidden influence is the Ten of Pentacles, which is about building for the long term. You know, the Ten of Pentacles energy is two people making a commitment to each other to build those strong foundations for the future, to grow together, to, you know, really create a life together where you're building that security and abundance. You know, sometimes this represents commitment, marriage, and, you know, the blending together of perhaps finances, assets to, you know, really, really build something together. This may also be, for some of you, an aspect of the person in the past that you're dealing with, where, you know, there may have been, let's say, some issues, let's just call it some player issues, where, you know, someone has perhaps a tendency to, you know, follow their passion wherever that kind of takes them. And, you know, this may be one of the issues that came up for you with this person. And it's going to involve perhaps a letting go of a certain lifestyle and a bit more kind of openness and honesty in order for things to really be able to progress to this Ten of Pentacles here. And what they will need to get through is the walls that they've built up around themselves, which really are the walls that they've built around their heart here. Even though, you know, the King of Cups is their feelings towards you, you know, this is something that, you know, does also need to be expressed in other ways, not just in, you know, a physical connection in those moments. With your advice from the universe, we have the Queen of Swords. This is about speaking your truth, seeing the truth, expressing who you truly are, staying true to what you really want and deserve. And so this is the thing with Judgment there, you're being asked to question this. Have they grown enough in, you know, to the point where, have both of you grown enough, let's say, because I feel like you've changed from this as well. And, you know, there's been healing on both sides. And there may have been a bit of kind of settling for less here, Cancer. And I feel like that's something you've really worked through. And I feel like that's an energy that you are not wanting to revisit. And this is what Judgment is all about. It's looking at what do you need to let go of. And, you know, it's learning from the past, you know, taking the wisdom of those soul lessons moving forwards. And Queen of Swords is all about seeing the truth of a situation. This is an energy which cuts through any illusions to get to the truth of something. And that is what you're being asked to do in this situation. You know, it may be things have changed, they may be ready, you know, they may have done a lot of learning, a lot of growing, but it's definitely something, you know, that you are going to need to discern. And to do that, you need to be seeing the whole picture here is what I'm getting. In the outcome, if you stay true to you, and what you really deserve is the Two of Cups. This is soulmate energy. This might be your person transformed. For others, this will represent somebody new coming into your life, because I do see another energy orbiting you. And, you know, this is the kind of connection that you're looking for. This is two people which are choosing each other through an energy of mutual trust. You know, it's a reciprocal energy. And that is what you're really wanting here, Cancer. And it really is about, you know, holding true to you and honoring, you know, what you really deserve here moving forwards, because it's about you embodying that energy. Because when you do that, that's when you're going to be a match for that Two of Cups there. So Cancer, let's get your person's hidden message for you. So the hidden message is more for those of you who are in some kind of no contact situation. So let me just do a few shuffles here. Cancer. Because I do feel like this is someone that, you know, tends to kind of reappear and disappear again. So you may be in no contact at the moment. I want to feel that way again. I'm starting to understand our connection. That's interesting. That's what was coming up in the reading there. Sometimes I stay awake thinking about you. You don't know how hard it was to let you go. I want to tell you how I feel. Feels to me like somebody's going to reappear from the past. There's quite a strong energy there, isn't there, Cancer? So I'm going to leave that there. We are going to move on to Scorpio. Hi, Scorpio. I just need to do a couple more shuffles before the deck feels ready. I always just get a feeling. It's whenever the cards start to jump out, I always know, yeah. Okay, so Scorpio, let's jump in. So I always like to just tune into the energies here before I start pulling any cards. Interesting. I'm feeling a lot of energy of nostalgia here, and I feel like you are currently connected with someone, but I feel like you're looking back on the past, Scorpio. There's somebody in your past where I feel like you're still feeling a connection to that person. And at the same time, you are with somebody else. But I'm feeling some challenges coming up with this person as well that you're currently connected to. Feels like they're ready for long-term commitment, and what I'm feeling from you is a little bit of doubt around that. Is this really the right person for me? Is this really the right time? It feels like, you know, there's a lot of really great things about this connection, but something feels like it's missing to me for you. So overall energies, we have the Three of Pentacles. Feels to me like someone's keeping their options open here. That's the instant feeling I get from this card. This is about working together as a team in a love reading, you know, making that commitment, growing together, working together, resolving, you know, any little issues that come up, because it's normal. Any relationship with two people in it, at some point issues are going to kind of come to the surface, and it's about, you know, using it as a tool to bring you closer together rather than something that pushes you apart. But the other feeling which I'm getting, the energy that's coming through this today, is I feel like someone's keeping their options open. There's three people in the image, which can sometimes represent third-party energies. Now, whether this is, you know, some kind of physical thing that's happening in terms of a third-party energy, sometimes it can just represent somebody who isn't fully present in their current connection because they haven't quite got over an ex-partner. And so energetically, their heart's not fully open, they're not fully present with their current relationship. And sometimes that can really kind of impact things. Because, you know, the person that you're with senses that energy. You know, everybody senses energy. We all do that. We can all feel things. You know, we can feel if somebody is not, you know, 100% kind of all in, let's say. And that's the feeling I'm getting here. Your person's view of you is the Six of Swords. A moment of a transition. Moving away from, you know, challenging times, choppy waters, to calmer shores, a place of healing, overcoming difficulties. So I do still feel that you have somebody that's willing to do that, Scorpio. Whatever challenges are going on, I do feel like this is someone that, you know, is really willing to work through this with you. There's two people in the boat. And absolutely, that can be something that happens as a result of, you know, whatever these challenges are right now. Their feelings towards you, Five of Swords, conflict, feeling conflicted. Their intentions towards you, the Seven of Pentacles. So, you know, somebody is taking a bit of a step back right now. And, you know, the person that you're dealing with, I'm talking about your current connection, they may be thinking of kind of moving on and kind of letting go of things. Maybe things have just gotten too difficult, too complicated. It feels to me like there's been some arguments, maybe some harsh words that have been spoken, where, you know, they may not feel like their needs are really being met here. They may not feel like, you know, they're being honored or acknowledged in the way they want to be, they should be, because it feels to me, and of course this can always be flipped, remember, but it feels to me, Scorpio, that you're not 100% sure whether this is someone you really want to commit to. Even though there's a lot of great things about the connection, something feels like it's missing on a deeper level. There's something missing in, you know, on a deeper level in terms of the connection, you know, intimacy, emotional intimacy, companionship, something. And I definitely feel like they are feeling this in your energy. They're feeling that bit of distance from you. And they're wanting more. And I do feel that's fair also, because if you're on different pages, I think it's best to be honest about that, because otherwise somebody's going to get really hurt and wounded. And that may have happened already. You know, this can be, you know, things that are said in haste that aren't really meant. You know, this isn't really a healthy communication. This is more like these, you know, reactionary energies and words that are spoken in the heat of the moment, which very often, you know, do cause a lot of damage. So, you know, I do feel like somebody's feeling wounded, and it's caused them to, I feel, take a step back, because Seven of Pentacles is usually representing a period of time, a pause, where the person you're dealing with, I feel, is really looking at, you know, what you two have together right now, and is this still something that they want to continue investing in? Because I feel like they're needing something more from you, Scorpio. They're wanting that commitment. They're wanting to progress things here to the next level. However that looks. You know, sometimes it's just a level of intimacy, of, you know, honest communication. Sometimes it might be moving in together or some kind of further commitment. I see the word life partner. The person you're dealing with wants a life partner. I do feel that. But there's some kind of make or break point that you're in right now. Your feelings towards your person is the Fool, a new beginning, a fresh start. For some of you, that's going to be wanting a new beginning with this person, and for others, I do feel a stronger energy around wanting a fresh start without that person, like generally in your life, because this represents the beginning of a whole new chapter. And there's a real feeling of kind of freedom to me that comes with that. And that might be what's holding you back, Scorpio. It might be you trying to hold on to a kind of a sense of independence, and feeling that if you connect more fully to this person, you might lose that. And of course, it's possible to reframe that as well. It is possible to still feel independent and be in a connection with somebody else. You know, it doesn't have to be one or the other. But I'm feeling more strongly a desire for a fresh start in your own life, some kind of whole new beginning. In the challenge, we have the Eight of Wands. I feel like there is some kind of no contact situation here, because Eight of Wands is all about communication. It usually represents a very fast moving energy, you know, rapid back and forth, texting, messaging, and that's in the challenge. So it feels like things have kind of come to a halt here. There's no contact. Your person is kind of a bit stepped back. The hidden influence is the King of Cups. And always remember that can be male or female. And I feel like this is what your person is wanting, and this may be someone that's around them that is kind of affecting the connection. This might be a person, also Scorpio, that represents this person in your past that you are still kind of looking back on, because that's the hidden influence. The hidden influence is something that is impacting the connection in some way that you may not fully realize. And this very well could be this person in your past here, Scorpio, where it feels to me there's still feelings, there's still unfinished business here. In your guidance, we have the Knight of Wands. This is the player of the tarot. That is what I was talking about earlier in terms of, you know, little behaviors that might be going on here with that Three of Pentacles, you know, these third-party energies and keeping options open. So when I see that in the guidance, I feel like you're being asked to make a change, because deep down your soul's wanting something more, something deeper, but it may involve letting go of a certain lifestyle and letting go of perhaps superficial connections here, and moving towards something more real, deeper and authentic that is going to, you know, bring you that long-term fulfillment. That's what I'm feeling from that card. And in your outcome, we have the Ace of Cups, a new beginning. You know, this is about keeping your heart open. It's about following your heart and your feelings and letting that lead, you know, letting your heart kind of lead you forwards here, because the invitation of this for you, Scorpio, is love. And, you know, this is a very real love that I see there in your outcome. So let's just get your person's hidden message for you. So the hidden message is more for those of you who are in a no contact situation, because I do feel there has been sort of ongoing conflict here. And, you know, I feel like the person you're dealing with, maybe even you yourself, you know, keep kind of taking a step back, stepping away, and then reconnecting again. There's something like that happening here. So Scorpio, I hide behind material things. I want you. I left you before you could leave me. Finding out the truth crushed me. My life is not as together as it seems. So Scorpio, I'm going to leave that there. We are going to move on to Pisces. Hello, Pisces. Sorry about the noise in the background. I'm pretty sure you can hear that. I've got a lot of construction going on around me at the moment. And I'm not using my normal microphone, which kind of gets rid of a lot of that background noise. So please bear with me. So Pisces, one more shuffle. Okay. All right, Pisces, let's jump in. So I always like to tune into the energies first, Pisces, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I always like to see what the universe shows me. Feeling a little bit of heartbreak here, Pisces, and a sense of disappointment. I feel like there's somebody that you really, you know, had your heart set on, and it just feels like they're not showing up in the way you really need them to. I am sensing some energies of, you know, potential third-party energies or betrayal for some of you, because I'm feeling a lot of hurt in your heart. And also this energy of you having so much love to give. Like there's so much love in your heart to give. And it feels like there is like a, you know, a real struggle around understanding why, when you have so much love to give to this person, they are not reciprocating that back to you, not in the way that you're needing. And, you know, instead of that being kind of reciprocated, all I'm feeling here is the energies of disappointment, feeling let down, not really knowing where you stand with this person, like what do you really mean to them in their life. And for some of you, I feel like, you know, the person you're connecting with might be there might be some things going on in the background, because I'm feeling someone keeping their options open. There might be some cheating going on, betrayal, something like that. And overall energies is the Chariot. Sometimes represents traveling to someone traveling to you. But it's also an energy which is about taking an action. Taking an action which brings your power back to you, gets you back in the driving seat of your life here. Because I feel like you're losing, let's say, a lot of energy, you know, to this connection, trying to work things out to this person. There's a lot of kind of emotional stuff going on, which I feel is also, you know, quite a drain on your energy. And the Chariot, I feel, is about kind of reclaiming your power. And how do we do that? Well, we do that by, I feel, looking at the bigger picture here around what a certain connection and the dynamics that are going on is really helping you to learn on a soul level. Because it's always about looking at, you know, what am I learning from this? What is this illuminating to me? What is this an invitation for me to do or be? And when we can be accountable for, let's say, our part to play in an experience that we're having, that is where we get our power back. And that is what I'm feeling from this card. I mean, it can be about travel. It might be about moving on from someone, and that might involve a location change for some of you, something like that. Your person's view of you is the Six of Wands. Recognition, acknowledgement. Sometimes represents someone who is getting a lot of attention. Let me just pull the rest of the cards. Their feelings towards you, the Five of Cups. That's loss, that's regret, that's sadness. Their intentions towards you, the Three of Wands. Some of you may be at a distance from this person. It feels like something has gone down, and sometimes time and space is a great healer, because it allows somebody to, first of all, you know, whenever there's been conflict, you know, emotions are high, and once those emotions die down, then that's when reflection comes in, and it really does allow someone to reflect and get in touch with their true feelings. So this may be somebody that you've split from, you may be at a distance, because to me, that's what this card is feeling like. You know, it's somebody, there's a body of water, and you know, you may be in different places in the world. So with the Chariot there, this might be someone who is perhaps thinking about traveling towards you. Your feelings towards this situation, the Star, I feel like this is someone you're still open to. You know, this is the energy of a new beginning. a renewal very often, which of course can represent the renewal of a connection. Interesting, because, you know, with this Six of Wands, this is how they're seeing you, and this can also represent, you know, you being acknowledged, the connection being acknowledged in terms of, you know, understanding more deeply the significance of it. Sometimes somebody, you know, they need to lose something to really know its value. And, you know, this is kind of the energy that I'm picking up on here. This is a figure who is looking at the cups which are spilled with an energy of regret and sadness and loss. You know, it's a sense of losing something that, you know, they feel like they may not be able to get back. And there's two cups which are still standing in the image on that card there, which represent the blessings of a situation. It represents, you know, something that maybe can still be salvaged here with you. And I feel like you're still open to this. You're still open to the relationship possibility. You're still open to this person. And it may well be that they are thinking of perhaps reaching back out to you here. That's for those of you that may have split, or you might be in no contact right now. Three of Wands also is about growth. It's about somebody moving out of their comfort zone and really learning from the past. Let's just look at your challenge. In the challenge is the Two of Wands, and I feel like this is about you, Pisces, where there's a little bit of a difficulty around making a choice here. And like the figure on the card, there's one foot in the past, in what feels familiar, and in the other hand they're holding the world, which is about potential, new beginnings, new possibilities. Because I do feel like you want a fresh start with this person, but at the same time, it feels like a lot needs to change here. And you're really needing to know, I feel, that they have really grown and learnt and are willing to really step up and, you know, make a commitment to, you know, something long term here. And this is what you're going to have to see, because I do get the sense of somebody wanting to reach back out. There's still a part of your energy that's open, but things need to change. And, you know, like the figure on the card, this represents somebody not being afraid to be your true self. And that is what needs to shift in this connection. You know, I feel like you've been dealing with someone here who has perhaps been a little bit guarded. They've struggled to open up to love, which is what I feel has, you know, always been on the table. I feel like you've got so much to give. And this is the thing, this does feel like a soulmate energy, and there is always an invitation for, like the Three of Wands here, that greater potential and possibility. But both parties need to be able to step up to that. And I feel like they've sabotaged the connection with certain behaviors, whether there is a betrayal, or whether this is just someone who, you know, you haven't really felt respected by. They haven't really given you, you know, their all. They may have been entertaining chats or kind of flirting with people in the background there, and a lot of that feels to me like sabotage, where they're protecting their heart, and, you know, and something's kind of gone down, some kind of conflict's gone down, and I feel like there's been time apart. They have been faced with the reality of life without you, because there's a loss there with that Five of Cups. And somehow through that, I feel like they've come to really understand the connection, you know, much more fully with you. And there is an intention, I feel, to grow and being willing to grow. And what you need to, I feel, discern here is whether or not that feels real, whether or not they can back that up with actions, whether or not they can sustain, you know, putting that effort in and really being willing to work on things with you. So whatever happens here, be honest with yourself and what you're feeling. The hidden influence here is the Wheel of Fortune. This is always an energy which I feel is about karmic connections, destiny, you know, it's your destiny in motion. Sometimes it's an energy which comes in and brings change. You know, this is all about change, sudden change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for, you know, the worse, let's say. But whatever it is, sometimes it comes in to put you on a different path. And that's what it feels to me has kind of gone on here. You know, things weren't feeling healthy, things weren't feeling right. And the universe has brought in, you know, some kind of change to potentially set you on a different path. And that might be one that you walk, you know, solo, or it may be with this person who's showing back up again, but this time, you know, ready for something more and something deeper. You know, this always speaks to me of, you know, destiny, soulmates, karmic connections. With your advice, we have the Three of Swords. This is a card of, you know, sadness, separation. You know, it may be that there's still a little bit of healing to do, and it's a great teacher, the Three of Swords. It's that old saying of, you know, where the swords, you know, pierce the heart is really where the light gets in. And so I do feel that this is for you to work out here, you know, was this person just a lesson for you? Or is there still something more? Were they a lesson or a life partner? And that is where I feel you really need to listen to your heart in a very honest way. In your outcome, we have the Ten of Swords, which is the ending of a difficult chapter, difficult situation, one that may have, you know, brought a lot of sadness, difficult emotions. There may have been, like I talked about, a betrayal. You know, Ten of Swords is the energy of a betrayal, of feeling kind of stabbed in the back. For those of you that does resonate. And it's usually something which is absolutely over and done with, that you don't usually come back from. And in the background of this card is the dawn. And, you know, that's the dawn of a new horizon for you. So I would say, you know, don't rush in. You know, there's no rush to make any decision here. I feel like this is about really staying connected to your heart and making your next decisions, you know, really based on that. So Pisces, let's get your person's hidden message for you. So the hidden message is more for those of you who are in no contact right now. So Pisces. I bury myself in work to forget you. I know I messed up everything. That's that sabotage I was talking about. I hid who I really am from you. We will be together again. I'm afraid to contact you. So Pisces, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, Moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thank you so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.